Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first, the inaugural episode of the Hammer and Pickle podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Driver.
And I'm your host, Zach Martin.
Zach, what are we going to be talking about? What is the point of this podcast?
Well, us here at the Hammer and Pickle podcast, we're going to mostly talk about news and politics.
I like politics.
Some culture, maybe some scientific research. Whatever we find relevant to the world and society at large. What we think is important and what we think is going to affect people.
We're mostly beginning giving our dumb opinions about things.
Oh, very dumb. Very, very dumb. I mean, I am somewhat informed about politics, but
I am not informed about politics. So, I am an engineering student, and I haven't really been following politics for very long, but I find it very interesting as of late. I find it to be important and something I'd like to be talking about and be more informed about.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I've been following politics pretty regularly for 5 years, 4 years, and then, of course, my opinions have changed significantly over that period of time as I've grown up, as things have changed, as things have stayed the same. So I hope to kind of share that opinion, and we'll have some good conversations.
Hopefully they're funny. Hopefully they're informative.
Well,
and more importantly, they will be dumb.
Yes, and hopefully the education and entertainment comes second to just being dumb as possible.
We're trying to be dumb as possible. That is the main goal of the
That's fine.
podcast.
We're a dumb, stupid podcast with two guys who don't know what they're talking about.
Correct. So let's give our opinion to the entire world.
Yes, starting with Taiwan and China.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Okay, so today, which is Monday, May 23rd, earlier this morning, when Joe Biden was, I believe, in Asia.
Joe Brandon. Let's go, Joe
Brandon. He reaffirmed his stance that the U.S. would intervene in Taiwan if China decided to launch a hostile invasion on the island nation.
This is kind of insane. I mean, he's mentioned in the past like having that like stance and everything, but this is more important, or not necessarily more important, but more influential now, following recent events in.
Well, yes. I mean,
Eastern
obviously,
Europe.
we'll talk about how this has to do with Ukraine, but I mean, it's very interesting to see what happens when you do something as, say, we're going to support a nation against a hostile attack.
Is Taiwan really? Are we supposed to?
That's the funny part. I mean, there's actual criticisms about whether or not it's relevant for the United States military interests, whether or not it's worth the money we would be spending, whether or not this has happened. But that's never what the conversation is around. It's around how dare we recognize Taiwan as an independent state and go against Xi Jinping.
To clarify, we do believe that Taiwan is a country,
yes,
an independent nation.
That might be, yes, go Taiwan.
Yeah, we support Taiwan.
We're going to get killed before the next episode for that stance.
I really hope we don't get assassinated by the U.S. government, but so be it.
So this is interesting with how Ukraine has kind of played out over the past couple months. Of course, Vladimir Putin launched a invasion of Ukraine a couple months ago, or a month and a half ago. So I don't really remember how long it's been. It's been a while, and it's failed. Well, I mean, all war is a ultimate failure, but this does not look good for the Russian government or Vladimir Putin as a relatively successful and popular Russian politician.
Surprisingly.
I mean, you can question the numbers all you want, but he was not unpopular enough to try to just throw stuff at the wall and try to invade Ukraine. So,
I mean, he's really looking like the world's biggest idiot right now.
Yeah, just taking really one of the fattest L's in Ukraine.
Modern history, maybe?
So it is interesting with that perspective why Joe Biden would come out and say this, because it is, in my opinion, seen as a way to reassert that we don't believe this is going to happen. I mean, China hasn't really indicated a immediate intention to invade Taiwan.
I remember at the beginning of the Russian invasion, there was like a rumor that China had been surveying airspace over Taiwan, or had been maybe I don't think it was.
I mean, China, of course, is surveying and monitoring that entire region.
Right. But people were paying attention to it then.
Yeah, or the Chinese government says that eventually it is going to happen. I mean, it is kind of just a question of when the timing is right, but they are by no means prepared for that now.
No.
And it will probably be a little while before they get there. But
to be fair, we don't know when that's going to
no,
happen.
not at all. It could happen tomorrow, and I'd have to bite my tongue.
So we're not like gonna.
I don't have any
go on a limb
foreign.
And say it's not gonna happen ever, or
But it will happen. It will most likely happen eventually. But I think this is the U.S. trying to reassert the position that they don't think it will happen, based upon the failure that Russia has had in a similar type of reunification. But also, I think it leads into the U.S. trying to establish itself and its military again as the moral police and the world police for good and for democracy. Because Ukraine is the first thing in a while that the U.S. military can kind of put its stamp on as like a win. Like what else has there been since World War II that the U.S. has been like involved in, and it's had somewhat of like a positive outcome?
Well, we've successfully, harassed Middle Eastern nations and stolen their oil.
We did do that, yes.
We have successfully harassed South Asian countries under the names of Korea and Vietnam.
Yeah, we have also harassed the Palestinian people with our continued funding of Israel.
So lots of positive military action across the world.
Yes, so much positive military action that Ukraine has added a long list of W's to. But in all seriousness, no, Ukraine, all war is bad. There is no winners. There's only losers.
Especially big war.
But for the first time in a while, the U.S. is not taking a massive L.
Right.
Which is...
and we're even taking credit for...
Oh, absolutely. We will be doing a victory lap when this inevitably ends, and we will be... We will be the saviors of Ukraine.
We saved Ukraine. We did it, guys. We won against Russia.
Biden and Zelensky 2024. But
you guys think Biden really rose the gas prices, but what he really did was save Ukraine. We saved Ukraine.
We did not save Ukraine.
No.
but no, if the U.S. can successfully establish itself as a moral police again, like we did after World War II, we can continue to do unjustifiable military action, which is it's harder to do after our disastrous residency in the Middle East.
Don't you love justified war crime?
Absolutely. It's one of...
It seems to be the U.S.'s favorite type of war crime. Well, not justified in the sense of actually being justified, but in our eyes being justified.
I mean, yeah, in not in our eyes, but
no, sorry. As the U.S. government's eyes.
Yes. they love being able to... Well, I mean, a war crime is just a crime, or is just a war crime committed by a country the U.S. doesn't like.
Right.
When we do it, it's fine.
Exactly.
It's diplomacy. It is in the interest of the United States fighting the war on terror. It's not a war crime. No. War crimes are bad. We don't do that in the U.S.
But only when it's necessary. But we don't call it a war crime. We call it a war.
What was the word George Bush used for when we would waterboard people? It's like it was the advanced interrogation methods, something like that.
Something ridiculous. I don't know.
Something that wasn't just calling it torture.
Right, yeah.
Which is what it was. But no, so with this news coming out, it'll be interesting to see how the U.S. continues and furthers its foreign policy with China, which is positioned to kind of stop the dominance, the single state dominance of the United States. I mean, if any country is going to come close, it's going to be China.
Oh, yeah, China. It's really surprising that like I said, we Biden has already expressed that the U.S.'s stance has been to defend Taiwan, but it really didn't impact. It didn't have the same impact as it does now, following the current situations and everything. But what's really surprising is that we historically have been kind of afraid of China, as they are an extremely successful and growing economic state. They have probably one of the most powerful militaries in the world, besides obviously the U.S. and other.
I mean, in terms of military power, though, we're like degrees.
Well, yeah,
above
of course,
China's,
but they're the next competitor.
They are.
One of
they
them.
are.
So they're a nation that's like growing in power very rapidly. I mean, their economy is. I mean,
with the they have the this is the One Belt One Road initiative that Xi Jinping is doing. Let me fact check that.
But either way, we're afraid of China, and so it's with other sentiments that we provided. It's just it is a little surprising that we would so aggressively defend, at least in words, in claims, Taiwan.
Yeah, the One Belt One Road. I mean, they are really trying to redefine Eastern commerce and commerce in terms of trade, and China is really going and is on pace to center itself at the center of global trade and overtake the U.S. in that front. And we will see how the U.S. Reacts when that comes closer. I mean, they're still pretty far off from actually reaching a level of dominance like the U.S. has,
right.
But they're certainly on pace, and the U.S. seems to have no interest in putting together concrete plans to address these issues from a societal and a systemic standpoint. We're kind of just pointing our finger and going China bad, right. Instead of maybe trying to invest in some of the social programs or do some economic reform that would actually put us in a superior and a position that would produce more longevity. I'm trying to think of the right phrase for that, but because right now China's outpacing the United States in terms of survivability, in terms of growth.
I mean, didn't they? They've done. I mean, they've been extremely successful in trying to reduce and eliminate poverty.
Oh yeah, they've virtually eliminated poverty, to my knowledge. But I mean,
compared to us, I mean,
but
that's incredible.
just for fairness sake, China's also genociding Uyghur Muslims.
Right.
They are far from a perfect society. They definitely have some authoritarian problems within their government. Xi Jinping is a cruel dictator who looks like Winnie the Pooh.
I mean, they live in an extremely bad surveillance state as well.
Yes, they do. But ultimately, what the Chinese government is focused on is growth in their economy and their survivability on the world stage, which I don't know you can say the same about the U.S. And that is going to very much come to play within the next 50 years or so.
Oh, yes. And I mean, you'd think we'd have like a robust plan, considering we're so afraid of losing our dominance over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, most, if not all of our actions have been towards maintaining our dominance.
Well, we have a plan, and it's a multi-trillion-dollar plan just called the U.S. military. We haven't really gone beyond that in terms of the planning stage. That's our plan.
And to be fair, it's been working out so far, kind of.
It's sure.
Not in a good way.
not in a good way.
Not in a good way, but I mean, it has been working to some extent.
Yes, it has. All right. So Elon Musk has been in the news recently.
Elon Musk has been in the news, and for a lot of different reasons.
For many different reasons.
One of the biggest reasons being, the attempted purchase of one of the largest communication platforms in, I don't know about the world, but definitely the U.S.
Yes, it is. It's still like kind of a distant third on that list.
It is.
Facebook has a very weird dominance that no other social media platform is really going to touch, especially at the international level.
I mean, considering they own Instagram, they own.
So yeah, well, so many international internet services just run through Facebook.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous. It's like a lot of third world countries and a lot of kind of developing nations, such as like India, such as a lot of countries in the Middle East that have internet but not kind of wide access, especially in poor areas. And like the internet is just Facebook, because what Facebook does to some extent is they come in and they're like, we can give you Facebook for free. You guys go on Facebook all you want. So and they will develop a lot of these kind of internet.
That's so
they'll
scary.
set up these networks and.
It's so scary to imagine just like one massive international company just owning. Well, not even. I mean, it's so big.
Don't worry. There's not one. There's 5. So we're good.
Oh,
we're good. There's not one company. There's 5 companies.
Of course.
But we'll talk about Facebook at a different time. Let's go back to Elon Musk and Twitter, because Elon Musk was supposed to buy Twitter for a pretty hefty lump sum.
$44 billion, I think.
Yeah, he was going to buy it at $54.20 a share, which, I mean, if you've been looking at the Twitter stock, it's not close to that anymore. It's around $36, I think, $35 a share. So it's gone quite a bit down, but so is the entire market. So we don't really know what that relates to, but we know that Elon Musk isn't buying Twitter anymore.
Probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, but it's been... I mean, at first he was 100% going to buy Twitter. Mm-hmm. Then it's been kind of declining over time. He's not going to buy Twitter. I don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, it doesn't look like he's going to buy Twitter now. It looks like he's going to have to pay, I think, $1 billion to get out of the contract. But it was a really interesting month or so, where it looked like the richest man on the earth was gonna buy
one of them. We don't actually know who the rich. I mean, you know, we don't know how much money.
I think according to the books,
right?
On the books, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He was going to buy the preferred social media platform of the former president of the United States. There were rumors about him bringing back Donald Trump. Rest in peace, his Twitter account, one of my favorites.
Blessed be his name.
Yes. But there were talks of him rolling back some of the regulations on Twitter, the regulations on like hate speech, stuff like misinformation, stuff like that.
But it's all in the name of protecting our God-given right of free speech.
Free speech to be racist.
Well, yeah, free speech to be racist and openly transphobic, and to harass and bully these
yes.
marginalized groups.
So
don't you love that? I love participating in that.
I love it as well. And now I'm not saying, like, in my opinion, if Elon Musk was going to buy Twitter, if he did actually go through it, I don't think he would completely make it a free speech absolutist zone, because I think...
Because no one would be on Twitter anymore if he did that.
Because what we see with places that are free speech absolutists is these are just places like Gab, like 4chan.
I don't even know what Gab is.
Parler, I think, is another one. That these have just been reduced to a lot of far right neo-Nazi hate groups that kind of just dominate these circles. And what that's what
happens when you allow them to exist on the platform.
Yes, it does. And what it does is it drives out the people kind of in the margins and the people that these groups are attacking. And then when there's no more people left on the app or on the website that are part of these far right groups, then it's no longer fun, because the whole point is to own the libs and is to make fun of these people.
Right.
But these people aren't going to be on the platform anymore. So I never thought that Elon Musk would actually do anything significant to actually change the way Twitter fundamentally worked and moderated. Also, I thought it was kind of weird because Twitter isn't that profitable. It has always been extremely hard to monetize Twitter. They really have no prospects in terms of monetization. Their video platform is very lackluster. They've tried to get into live streaming and more kind of community collaborative stuff, and it's all really failed. What Twitter has been proven to do best is kind of just these tweets and these kind of...
Just like being the host of public discourse. Yeah,
just being kind of this open-ended forum. And I don't think it's like a public square or anything.
No, definitely not. But I mean, to some extent, like that is where a lot of arguments, not a lot, but that's where some arguments are taking place. And if the thing is when we allow hate speech and blatant harassment and everything like that. It doesn't really become an argument anymore. It's just it's obscene. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. No, and a lot of counters from people who are against these kind of restrictions are, oh, you're just kind of censoring my opinion, or censoring what you believe to be like wrong speech. But in almost all these instances of people being like censored off Twitter, it is for like actual harassment. It is for actual provable vaccine misinformation, stuff like that.
Transphobic hate speech, racial hate speech.
Yes, these things that would get you arrested if you said in front of a police officer to another person.
Well, I don't know if you said transphobic stuff in front of a police officer. I don't know what
to a trans person. If you were like aggressive in front of a person.
I meant like to a police officer.
Oh no.
Don't
if
give
you
a shit.
but like if you were having these interactions with like aggressively with another person, it would would be cause for alarm. So I don't think it being just someone's opinion is kind of valid. And from Elon Musk's perspective, why buy Twitter? It was needlessly expensive. He had to
sell off Tesla stock.
He had to sell off Tesla stock, and he also leveraged a bunch of the purchase on Tesla stock. So it was very much dependent on the price of Tesla stock, which is kind of risky move for something that's not going to be very profitable in the long run. No. It really seemed like he just kind of did this on a whim, and I don't know if maybe after his financial advisor, finally got a hold of him and was like, Elon, what the hell are you doing? Why would you buy this, like, for a bit?
I mean, that's what it seems like.
It very much seemed like he kind of did this for a Dogecoin bit or something. Like,
it is kind of ridiculous, and it's just funny. I mean, literally, what was it, a week ago, he came out as Republican.
Oh, I mean, I think he previously claimed to be like a libertarian.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, like, you're a billionaire. Why would you care about social issues? They're so far above your pay grade. Like, I mean, why, like, when you have as much money as Elon Musk does, what's the point of social problems? Like, he doesn't give a shit if whether or not the state's pro-marriage or pro-abortion or whatever. No. He has so much money that he completely overrides all of that.
I mean, his greatest interest is protecting his wealth.
Well, absolutely, and that's why he's pro-government subsidies that fund his businesses pretty much, like, by half. Like, his businesses could not be stable without the government subsidies.
Right. That
he then will turn around and say, no, these are bad. The government needs to be smaller or whatever. But he's just a giant hypocrite who is just playing the optics game. He only cares about his image and his bank account. And I think it's gone to his head, especially in recent years, where he was kind of, before he really grew his internet presence, he was very much just kind of, I guess, lower key head of Tesla. Yeah. And seemed to be making kind of cool.
He's the founder of Tesla.
I put that in our document about how he did not found Tesla. I was watching something where they were talking about Elon Musk. It was some YouTube video, and they meant like offhandedly. This wasn't like a pro Elon Musk video or anything, but they just offhandedly mentioned him as the founder of Tesla. And he's been able to so successfully brand himself with that, despite not joining the company until about a year after it was founded, and ousting the original founders.
Right, and he may not have he may not have explicitly stated, "I am the founder of Tesla," but so many other places have referred to him as the founder of Tesla, and he hasn't tried to correct that.
I mean, why would he? It's not really worth it. I mean, he's the CEO, he's the face, he's the one throwing snowballs at Cybertrucks or whatever. And he's been so successful at portraying himself as this tech genius while doing little to nothing in terms of actually being technologically savvy, in terms of actually making advancements. Because if we look at Tesla, I think the majority of the good work that they do is done by those engineers and those people coding those codes, and the people in the nitty gritty working and designing those cars. And
Tesla has made pretty good innovations in electric vehicles. I mean, I know, like, as I said, I'm an engineering student. As I've looked at this a little bit. Like they with the way they make their batteries, how they have it into a bunch of small individual cells, it's actually quite good because it minimizes the strain on individual cells and allows it to last a lot longer. So this is a good thing. Like having so many different cells instead of one large cell or many large cells, it makes the batteries last longer and have, I don't know if this is precise, but larger capacity. And that's good. That's good for the EV market.
And then also, before Tesla, electric cars were very much seen as like nerdy, dorky, and not really like kind of cool. But the Tesla came out, and electric cars are now cool. They're stylish. They're sleek. They're luxury. They're advanced. They're not just like a Prius.
Right.
But I mean, now we're seeing companies like Porsche, like Toyota, like Ford,
BMW.
putting significant effort into their EV markets. So that market share is slowly but surely going to drop.
So there has been some sort of positive impact from Tesla, but it isn't.
Yes, but now
but it isn't Elon Musk's like.
So now we can actually focus on the Elon Musk kind of ventures that he has very much stamped himself as the main proprietor of. So start with the Boring Company, which
how boring.
Which main successes have been they made that flamethrower.
That was pretty cool.
That was sold well. I mean, it was sold well, but a marketing gimmick.
Correct.
A cool marketing gimmick, but a marketing gimmick. And that was all to dig a tunnel.
No, but you don't understand. This is a very special tunnel. It goes through LA, I think. Is it LA?
I think it's LA. I don't know if it goes how far it goes though. But for those unaware, Elon Musk is the head, and I think he is actually the founder of the Boring Company. That's what it's called.
Correct.
And he has what he's called the Hyperloop, which is now done in LA. I think he talked about maybe doing one in New York as well.
And I think I heard it. I remember years ago it was supposed to be like this massive tunnel that would carry cars in on a cart that would like a vacuum tube that would make it go extremely fast. And that was thrown out of the way.
I think originally it was supposed to be open to all cars.
Right.
Now it's only Teslas.
And it's such a massive, stupid project.
Within a couple days of it opening, it was experiencing backups. It's a glorified subway tunnel for individual cars.
Specifically Teslas.
For specifically Teslas.
Not even just electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Just Teslas.
And
to
my knowledge, has had no positive or negative really impact on LA traffic as a whole.
I mean, they really thought that adding... Okay, mind you, this is a single lane tunnel.
Let me look at that.
There's no access for emergency vehicles. There's little protection against flooding. I mean, I've heard they've had, like, they have, safety features in place, but, I mean, have you seen pictures of it? It is literally just a one-car wide tunnel. How can that be deemed safe? It's ridiculous, and they really thought that adding that tunnel was going to solve LA traffic, but it didn't do shit.
So it is 1.14 miles in Hawthorne, California.
Wow.
And yeah, to my knowledge, it really has been very underwhelming. People are very much reporting like it's been backed up a lot. I know they have good, I think, cell service. They have like weirdly good cell service in those tunnels because of the networking that is through it. But that kind of adds to the question of like, I know people were like, why am I getting full bars while I'm in this tunnel, but in the surrounding areas of California I get no service? So I think that raises some interesting questions about that.
Yeah.
But so that's the Boring Company. He's got Neuralink. I mean, this may prove fruitful in the future.
I mean, yeah. I heard from maybe like a couple years ago, they were talking about how it could be used to solve neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and things like that, but which it very well could do.
I think
I don't know.
A major point of it is, yeah, it could, but there has been little to no advancement made on that front.
Yeah, they haven't
or
really...
any like proof that it's all just concept. It's all concept.
Hey, but they killed a monkey.
Did they kill a monkey?
They killed a monkey. I'm pretty sure when they were doing testing on monkeys, putting Neuralinks in monkeys, it died. And I mean, that happens in scientific research a lot.
Unfortunately.
It is unfortunate, but they have nothing to prove with it. They've shown nothing to like prove that it actually works and does anything. All they've done is put a chip and wire some tiny wires in a monkey's brain and kill it.
Yeah.
Like
no, I mean
this is a technology that's far in the future, but like even then, who's gonna fucking put a chip in their brain and connect it with tiny wires going all through their brain? That's scary.
I like,
especially when it's owned by the richest, wealthiest billionaire in the world.
Absolutely. And I mean from that standpoint of just like people doing this on a whim and putting in themselves, I don't think many people will do that.
No.
But
of course if it cures Alzheimer's, that's a great thing.
Yes.
Of course.
But even still, the technology isn't there yet.
No.
And there has been no sign of the technology being here anytime soon. So it's very disingenuous of Elon to kind of frame this in a way to where, oh, it's coming soon and I'm in charge of this cool technology that's coming out.
Yeah.
When it's most like, I mean, brain chips are going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's most likely
some sort of symbiosis between technology and
it's most likely going to be a result of a mix of public and privately funded research that goes into a long line of testing and departmental trials and drug trials for various neurologically dangerous and neurologically diminishing diseases. And it eventually we might get to a point where we can stimulate the brain with neural pathways to combat these diseases. But it is very, very disingenuous for Elon Musk to put himself at the front of this scientific research.
Right.
Because he by no means belongs at the front
No.
of it.
I mean, he's not doing the research. He doesn't know shit about it.
No, if you listen to him, I think it was on like a Joe Rogan episode or something. He's just saying things. He doesn't like Joe Rogan's trying to ask about how it works, and he's just like, I don't know. Like, I mean, they're and like,
I mean, all he's doing
he's wishing these things to be true. He's like, we hope we can do that. We hope we can do that.
Right.
But he doesn't know. He doesn't.
I mean, all Elon does in general is appeal to the like cyberpunk fanboys, like just the people that really are into a sci-fi future, and he's doing it very well. I mean,
yeah, because I think a lot of Elon Musk's kind of diehard fans all ultimately think that in the future that Elon wants, they are going to be brought with him.
Right.
And that's
they're mere peasants to him.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, Elon doesn't care about you or me or anyone but really Elon.
No.
He is trying to increase his bottom line. Like every other billionaire, though, he might be obsessed with trying to prolong his survival as long as possible.
Right.
That might be why he's looking into Mars colonization or claims to be looking into Mars colonization.
Right.
I think he gave like a really stupid timeline for that, though, like 50 years. I don't know how realistic that is.
I think it was even shorter than that.
It might have been, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, like,
but what we're gearing up to, if Elon could really pull off a somewhat of a Mars colonization, if it ever does get to the point where the Earth needs to be evacuated due to environmental collapse,
due to humans,
due to environmental collapse caused by human activity, the rich people aren't taking us with them.
Oh no!
Why would they?
We're disgusting.
Yeah, we are peasants. We are filth. We are lowlife. We will die here.
I honestly believe that the billionaires are the only people that deserve to live after.
Well, they are god kings.
They
made the money. They made the
they're
money.
Demigods.
Yes, of course, they made the money, and that allows them to
because they work
shape not just the future for themselves, but the future of society. And
I mean, they deserve the money. They work 1 billion times harder than I do.
Yeah. Hey, when in feudal society, the kings deserved all the money, and the peasants just had to work because they were born peasants.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's no different. They have earned the right to be gods and let the slaves die because money.
Exactly. We don't truly believe that, of course. If that wasn't blatantly obvious.
In a video game.
In a video game. This is true in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, like, even just like a year or two ago, I used to kind of be a fan of Elon Musk, but that was well before I even like started critically thinking about everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of, took everything at face value and just was like, technology is pretty cool. But I started really critically thinking about it, evaluating like a billionaire such as Elon Musk. I can't imagine, like, I can't believe that I was really just like kind of following that. Like,
he has done kind of a lot in more recent memory to tank his public image to those kind of paying attention.
That's true. That's true.
If you remember during the Indonesian soccer team got like caught in the cave, and he was trying to design like these pods or something to escape them.
That ultimately didn't even help.
So, and then there was some diver or whatever from, I think, somewhere in England or somewhere in the UK, who was going to, like, a professional diver to go help these children and kind of go and scout the cave and stuff. Like, called them, said the pods were stupid and they weren't going to work, and Elon called this dude baselessly a pedophile.
Yeah. Oh, but that's okay, because that's something they just say in South Africa.
Was that his defense?
That was his defense. Was that? Oh, sorry. It's just saying in South Africa. You can't do that.
Especially from his position as the richest man on the planet.
I mean, I don't know if he was at the time, but either way, one of the richest people on the planet.
That might have been before Bezos got divorced.
Yeah. But you can't just, as someone with that much influence, you can't just baselessly claim someone as a pedophile.
But it also kind of goes to his ego. It's like, dude, you are a multi-billionaire with more money than people can even conceive in their head. And someone says something about your idea that you don't like, so you call him a pedophile. It's like, it's so far below you. Like, you have the money to not think about this person, like, ever.
He's a child. He's a child that has the power of a god. Like,
I mean, yeah, and that's why he seemingly doesn't care about wasting $1 billion on this faux Twitter deal.
I mean, that's nothing to him.
I mean, it kind of is significant. I mean, like, $1 billion is still $1 billion,
right?
But yeah, I mean, he could have done something with that money. Like, I mean, he told the UN that if they mapped out a budget for him to end world hunger, he'd do it. The UN mapped out a budget for him,
and he
just didn't do it. And then he gets the money together liquid enough to buy Twitter. So he's a fraud. He isn't that smart, other than being able to market himself. I think that's his biggest strength.
Yeah.
That he's marketed himself as Mr. Science Dude, real life Tony Stark, and he is a fraud who is not our techno god savior. He is a billionaire who has only his best interest in mind.
Exactly. I mean, anybody that amasses that amount of wealth can't be a morally good person.
He's a capitalist who has framed himself as an engineer.
I mean, okay, he does. I don't know exactly what his degree is in, but he does have a STEM degree. I don't know if it's engineering or something else, but doesn't make him the lead engineer of Tesla. It doesn't make him the lead engineer of SpaceX.
And he's not doing the engineering work on it.
No, not at all. He doesn't probably even know half the stuff they're doing. Like,
no. So he can claim that he sleeps 4 hours a day and, like, sleeps in his office and doesn't do anything but work. But at the end of the day, what that means is he's just spending all day trying to enrich his pockets. He's not trying to save the world. He's not trying to do anything that isn't for Elon.
I mean, he's gone out to say he's anti-union. I mean, he wasn't... I think he had stated, like, we give our workers so much in terms of, like, stock in Tesla that they wouldn't even consider unionizing. So why would I worry about it?
And then I think he's fired people, maybe not on actual union organizing, but he's fired people I know at the beginning of the pandemic after saying that Tesla employees could work from home, and those who chose to work from home given the circumstances and refused to go back in for work were fired from Tesla. I don't think anything came of that. He's been in the news recently for there's some sexual misconduct stuff back like a couple years ago. I don't really give a shit.
But hey, it's okay now because he's a Republican.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I don't care. It's in Elon Musk's grand scheme of things, like whatever. I think anyone trying to like position this as an attack on him is stupid as well. Like, who cares? He's got more money than God. Like, let's focus on that. Not that sexual misconduct is anyway in any shape or form okay.
Right.
But of course. It's a drop in the bucket. Like,
it's not going to affect him.
No,
in the slightest.
It's not.
I mean, he already, I think in the past had paid off one of his employees to not talk about, or was it a flight attendant? I don't know. He paid off someone to not talk about the sexual misconduct.
Yeah, I think that was
$250 million.
$5,000.
$250,000. Something like that.
I mean, which for Elon Musk is nothing, but for that flight attendant, it was probably life-changing money. So
to keep quiet about.
I mean, yeah, and from the position of that person, like, it's honestly not the worst choice to just shut up and take the money, because you're seeing what people like Chrissy Blasey Ford or other kind of accusers who have come out and accused public figures. Everyone says, oh, they're just trying to they're just clout chasing. They are just trying to increase their fame and their wealth. But in every instance of like a victim or a survivor coming out and accusing someone more notable, it's the accuser who's facing death threats. It's the accuser who's getting harassed, targeted constantly. And that's been a consistent. I mean, even going back to like Monica Lewinsky, like that poor girl. I mean, I don't know if you can really say that was like sexual abuse or sexual assault. I mean, obviously it was a misuse of power, but I believe that was consensual to some extent. I mean, of course, it's the president, whatever. But whether or not, Monica Lewinsky was relentlessly attacked for that for years. Well, Bill Clinton was impeached, but I mean, after that, Bill Clinton was not the butt of jokes for a decade the way Monica Lewinsky was.
Yeah, and that comes from a lot of different things. I mean, there's a lot of different factors into that. I mean, you could systemic misogyny in our society.
Absolutely. Us blaming any women, of course, especially women, when they are with men who are in positions of power, are seen as, oh, they should be servile. They should just be glad the position they are in and kind of shut up and take it.
Right.
Moving on, that kind of goes into our final point about the ongoing Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. That's kind of taken the internet by storm. So, to those briefly uninitiated, Amber Heard, a couple years ago, published an article accusing Johnny Depp of some pretty bad emotional and spousal abuse. And then Johnny Depp, in order to
save his public image
and kind of save grace, has sued her for defamation. It has failed once in the UK, and now he's suing in the United States. So kind of just briefly, I would like to kind of give this issue a longer time, but going into kind of the victimization that all women kind of experience when they're with men of power regardless, is I'm not trying to defend Amber Heard. It does seem to me that she was the main abuser in a mutually abusive relationship.
Right, yeah. To keep in mind, Johnny Depp is also not out of the,
No, but
for this. He was also an abuser, but this is a toxic relationship where both people were abusive. It was not a good relationship to be in the first place.
Absolutely. But the internet and society at large loves to kind of see that, oh, it wasn't just the man doing it, and then immediately latch on and just attack the woman.
Right.
And I do think that is kind of the main problem with a lot of the ways the reporting around the Johnny Depp trial has been.
Right.
You see a lot of kind of weird and gross glorifications and like fan cams of Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
it's really weird, and I know I don't blame Johnny Depp for any of this. Like, it does seem to me that he has accepted his status as an imperfect victim, and that he is really just trying to kind of clear his name and not really trying to do more than set the record completely straight.
That he was not the only one, nor the main abuser in this
No,
situation.
to what I've seen, it does not seem to me like Johnny Depp is hiding from the abuse that he very much engaged in while in his relationship with Amber Heard.
Right.
But it does seem to me that Amber is the main abuser who pressured Johnny Depp to stay in this abusive relationship.
Which is terrible.
And
horrible.
continued this cycle of abuse.
I mean, to force someone to stay in a relationship like that is just forcing anguish upon both of you.
Absolutely. But it is very weird to see almost the entirety of the internet kind of just rag on Amber. Even though, like, to some extent, like, yes, she does seem very lifeless in court. Yes, she does kind of seem somewhat manipulative in the way she treated Johnny Depp.
But no one's really no one is really being in the middle on this. No one, either everyone's being in full support of Johnny Depp or in full support of Amber Heard. But there's not really many people talking about that are on Johnny Depp's side, recognizing that he was also an abuser.
Absolutely.
That he was also participating in this toxic relationship.
And also, I think my main concern with this is that it will continue further into future kind of abuse cases, and maybe this does kind of signal. I don't want to say the end of the Me Too era, because I do think there's a lot of complexities that get into that.
Right.
But it does seem like the normalization of victim blaming women will probably rise and continue to grow.
Well, it's always it's a complex issue, because it's a struggle to balance between giving power to women that are victims and giving them the ability to come out and talk about their experiences, but also not make it to where men can't talk about their experiences as victims as well, which it's a fine line. It's a really difficult thing.
But in the male dominated world that we live in,
right,
it seems like they will never get to that balance, because we will always inherently have a predisposition to protecting on a more kind of governmental, larger scale, protecting the men.
Right.
In some sense, I mean, and we could see this with Roe v. Wade, and that's a conversation for maybe next week.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good place to wrap up our first episode of the Hammer and Pickle podcast.
I would agree.
All right.
It's been a great conversation. I think we've talked about some really important, really interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait for us to talk about some more interesting and impactful stuff next week.
It's gonna be a good summer. We got midterms coming up later this year.
Ooh, boy.
We got abortion in the forefront of the national conversation. We got some really interesting stuff to talk about.
I'm sure something is going to happen soon.
Absolutely, stuff always happens.
Stuff is always happening.
If you're interested in this, follow us on Instagram, on Twitter at Hammer and Pickle Pod, and we will see you hopefully next week.
Thank you, everyone.